as you walk alone on this journey, boy.
Love him or hate him, almost no other wrestler gets people talking the way Bray Wyatt does. And that makes sense. He's been around the business since childhood, honing his craft and taking plenty of knocks along the way. Pro wrestling has always been in Bray Wyatt's blood, due in large part to his family. Wyatt, real name Wyndham Rotunda, is the son of Mike Rotunda, who WWE fans likely know best as Irwin R. Shyster. Wyatt is also the grandson of Blackjack Mulligan, and Rotunda's brother Taylor is better known as Bo Dallas, the third ever NXT champion. Wyatt's wrestling heritage is hardly acknowledged on screen, but it has been discussed online in countless videos and articles. What many won't know, though, is how this upbringing slightly distorted a young Wyndham's perception of the real world. In an interview with the Daily Journal, Wyatt explained his adorably naive childhood worldview. He said, "Growing up in that environment is a strange thing. Most people couldn't imagine it. When I was a child, I thought everyone was a wrestler. I thought when you went to work, you went to go wrestle." His dad was a wrestling IRS agent, after all, so it's understandable how there could be some confusion. It's a bit weird to imagine Bray Wyatt as anything but a professional wrestler, but he had a few other paths in life. Like many professional wrestlers, Wyatt began with aspirations of playing football, even getting a head start in high school according to Hernando Today. He earned a college football scholarship to Troy University, his last stop before fully embracing wrestling as his career. While a student at Troy, Wyatt also looked to major in the field of broadcast journalism. This does make a certain amount of sense, as one of his biggest strengths has always been his gift of gab. This career path obviously didn't come to pass, as Rotunda dropped out 27 credits shy of his bachelor's degree. He left school to pursue the family business and his true passion, professional wrestling. Clearly, that decision paid off, but it's still pretty interesting to imagine Bray Wyatt in a newsroom as opposed to the squared circle. Even with his family pedigree, Bray Wyatt was once at the bottom of the pro wrestling ladder. Following a run in FCW alongside his brother Taylor, Rotunda was repackaged as Husky Harris, with a name referencing his physique. In an early promo following this name change, Harris even referred to himself as an army tank with a Ferrari engine. After this rebranding, Harris was given a slot on NXT in 2010 under the on-screen tutelage of Cody Rhodes. This eventually led to Harris joining the Nexus faction. His major contributions were being fed to whomever Nexus 2.0 happened to be feuding with that particular week. Harris was written off of television on a 2011 episode of Raw when Randy Orton punted him in the head. Rotunda was sent back down to WWE's developmental system for some much-needed refurbishing. Everyone has to start somewhere, but sadly the early 2010s served as a painful proving ground for this third-generation talent.
When I look back at that era, and I see this character, Husky Harris, I just see a sad little boy.
While back in the developmental system, Rotunda made his first step towards using horror-tinted imagery for his in-ring persona, wearing a pseudo-Slipknot mask. Along with this new look came a new name, Axel Mulligan, a reference to his legendary grandfather. The gimmick was a far cry from Rotunda's later ones in terms of quality and presentation, but it was a marked improvement over his previous one. It was under the veil of this refurbished persona that Rotunda began showing traits he'd later use as Bray Wyatt. This included his bizarre crab walk, modeled after Reagan from The Exorcist, and his pose while slumped in the corner. The gimmick never made it to FCW TV, with the only known footage of its existence being a fan cam footage from early 2011. But it was a step in the right direction, a small taste of the madness that Rotunda would soon unleash on the wrestling world. Rotunda arrived on the other side of his retooling in FCW as Bray Wyatt, a sinister southern cult leader with a silver tongue. Complete with a stylish fedora and a Hawaiian shirt, the new and improved Bray Wyatt was definitely rocking some Cape Fear vibes. His fashion sense and manner of speech was a dead ringer for the film's main character, Max Cady, played in 1991 by Robert De Niro. However, Wyatt wasn't the first man to take influence from Cady, as Waylon Mercy had done it nearly 2 decades prior. For years, Dan Spivey was a true wrestling journeyman, stepping between the ropes for the likes of WCW, All Japan Pro Wrestling, and WWE. During his time in WWE, Spivey also took a page out of Max Cady's book to create the Waylon Mercy persona. He came complete with a Hawaiian shirt and a barrage of cryptic words, often delivered in a polite southern drawl. The subdued demeanor stood in sharp contrast to his matches, wherein he'd take great pleasure in decimating opponents. During an interview on The Steve Austin Show, Wyatt revealed to Stone Cold that Spivey had happily bequeathed the character to him during a Performance Center visit. Over the course of his career, Wyatt has had many tag team partners and confidants. From his own brother to the Wyatt family to Randy Orton to Alexa Bliss, Wyatt has seen his fair share of partners and sidekicks. However, one partner that many fans will likely be unable to recall is Eli Cottonwood, also known as Kip Christensen. WWE's developmental system was on the verge of a tremendous overhaul. In 2012, Florida Championship Wrestling was rebranded into NXT, WWE's unofficial third brand and developmental space for future stars. Amidst the transition, Bray Wyatt appeared alongside Cottonwood, teasing a tag team run. This included a promo wherein Wyatt, with Cottonwood listening on, told a story where he burned his own father's boat down. The pair wouldn't last long though. That very same year, Wyatt was set up with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan to create the Wyatt family. The group made quite the impression in NXT during their run, quickly becoming favorites amongst the early NXT fans. Considering the faction's now well-established legacy, it's hard to imagine Wyatt breaking big with anyone else at his side.
There is no doubt this man is going to terrorize WWE.
One of Bray Wyatt's greatest strengths has often been the lore he packs into his personas and the Easter eggs he provides fans. The names he gave his roster of puppets on the Firefly Funhouse are all good examples of how he rewards fans for paying attention. They include Mercy the Buzzard, an homage to Waylon Mercy, Abby the Witch, a cartoon version of Sister Abigail, and Huskus the Pig, a nod to his old gimmick Husky Harris. It was these little references that intrigued fans as to what dark secrets the Funhouse truly held within. This was eventually revealed to be The Fiend, a monstrous new persona with which Wyatt would dominate the WWE Universe.
You know, that bad guy might be there too.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful.
The Fiend didn't debut until 2019, but the character was actually set up much earlier and in a rather interesting way. As a Halloween treat, WWE released a series of videos featuring wrestlers, including Dean Ambrose and Paige, telling superstar ghost stories. When Bray got his turn to tell a story, he spoke of a brush with a mysterious entity in his childhood woods, a large man with pale white skin and wispy, long yellow hair. This description, matched with the eerie screaming that accompanied him, is a dead ringer for what would eventually emerge as The Fiend. Bray Wyatt has certainly been one to keep fans and even his colleagues guessing in terms of his next moves. A major example of this came in 2018 when, following a run with Broken Matt Hardy, Wyatt took time off from television. During his lengthy 8-month absence, the often vocal Wyatt made nary a peep online or otherwise. This silence was eventually broken with the emergence of the Firefly Funhouse gimmicks and the arrival of The Fiend. Wyatt largely isolated himself during his sabbatical, working on developing his eclectic new gimmick. Braun Strowman, a former member of the Wyatt family, commented on this during an interview with Sam Roberts on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast. Braun said,
"Got in a pretty weird place for a while and wasn't happy with what was going on and character-wise, and he literally went to the drawing board and started from scratch."
In a true endorsement of his friend's dedication to his craft, Braun added that Bray cut himself off from the world. During the group's peak, the Wyatt family was truly one of WWE's more consistent and entertaining heel factions. Tag and trios matches between the Wyatt family and the likes of The Shield, the Usos, and the New Day were frequent show stealers. Partway through the faction's existence, they got a new recruit in the form of Braun Strowman, a hulking beast of a man complete with an impressively on-brand beard. While Strowman was undoubtedly still finding his way between the ropes, his size and strength were enough to cement him as a dominant presence. Strowman and Wyatt have even squared off with each other, sharing a delightfully cornball feud partway through 2021. Despite his intimidating presence, Strowman and Wyatt's real-life friendship is nothing short of heartwarming. Case in point, Strowman confirmed his status as the godfather for Bray's child in a supremely adorable Instagram photo. It helps to have friends, but it helps even more when that friend is the size of a semi-truck. In the world of horror cinema and special effects, there are few names that carry as much respect as Tom Savini's. The man's effects work has been the backbone of several horror classics, including Friday the 13th, Creepshow, and Day of the Dead. It's only fitting then that WWE's modern master of the massacre, Bray Wyatt, would collaborate with Savini. Interestingly enough, Wyatt isn't the first WWE talent to work with Savini. The man himself confirmed on the Paltrowcast podcast that he has had a hand in looks for many men and women of the Squared Circle, including Triple H and Alexa Bliss.
We did Triple H's crown for 5 WrestleManias, so it turned into a work relationship with.
So when Bray Wyatt handed Savini and fellow effects artist Jason Baker some of artist Kyle A. Scarborough's concept art for The Fiend, he knew the idea was in good hands. Savini churned out the mask for The Fiend, a haunting white visage complete with dark carved out eyes and sharp yellow teeth. Savini was integral to The Fiend's now legendary look. In a studio with Baker, Callosum Studios created Bray's new mask that debuted on Extreme Rules 2022, along with the costumes for the Funhouse characters. Bray Wyatt has always shown a great appreciation for horror cinema, often lifting elements from some of the genre's best. From the Texas Chainsaw Massacre tinted visuals of his early days to the Nightmare on Elm Street aesthetics from the Firefly Funhouse, Bray certainly has taste when it comes to madmen and monsters. Following his 2021 release from WWE, Bray Wyatt once again went off the grid, fueling rampant speculation about his next career move. Like before, Wyatt hardly made a peep during his downtime, sans a few sporadic tweets. One major update finally arrived courtesy of effects artist Jason Baker, who revealed that he and Bray were teaming up once again. Baker explained that he had been collaborating with Wyatt on a potential horror film, one with a rather interesting logline. Metro quoted him as saying that their tentative film was to be Ichi the Killer meets Xanadu. In February 2022, Baker appeared on the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast to confirm that the film was still in the works. In a BT Sport interview with Ariel Helwani, Triple H commented on Bray Wyatt, calling him one of the most crazy creative people I've ever been around. He added,
"Mind just never stops thinking of creative, but it's like being in a whirlwind of stuff."
From his swamp-tinted sermons to the Firefly Funhouse to his recent White Rabbit QR code content, Wyatt's mind has crafted some true gems. But of course, not every single one of Wyatt's ideas have manifested on WWE television, with many not leaving the conceptual stage. One of Wyatt's frequent collaborators, tattoo artist and illustrator Kyle A. Scarborough, has helped craft many of his creations. This includes the design for The Fiend and the severed head lantern that he'd carry to the ring before matches. Following Wyatt's 2021 release from WWE, Scarborough revealed some ideas that never left the drawing board, including a Fiend persona equivalent for Alexa Bliss. Additionally, he explained how a pitch for a real-life Firefly Funhouse was kicked around behind the scenes. This pitch was toyed with enough that concept art for a deranged variant of Huskus the Pig Boy was mocked up. That idea actually seems to be coming to light in some form now with the Wyatt 6, but it's clearly different from the original concept.